Shalom. It's just a minute before 7:15, and I wanted to make sure that I got levels right and sounded okay. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we had a little bit of problems with audio, so I'm trying to use a headset this time to see whether or not that does a better job. Hi, Janet. You can't hear me at all, Ellen? No volume at all? Well, that sucks. I tested it. Can anyone hear me at all? Shabbat Shalom, Barb. Only a little. Damn. Okay. Well, let me see if I can. Let me see if I can turn this up a bit. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Is that any better? Oh, excellent. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Judith. Well, it is 7:15, and thank all of you for joining us for another Shabbat over the internet. For those of you who don't know me, I think everybody that I've seen shown up does, but I'm Drew Porter, and I'm privileged to spend the evening with you and usher in what's hopefully going to be a very pleasant and quiet and peaceful and joyful day for everyone. So, speaking of quiet and peaceful, I don't know how many of you have a siddur at home, but it really is. It's a nice thing, a nice present to buy for yourself, because there's all kinds of stuff in here that you can just pick up and spend just 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 minutes reading, and it is a very, after a stressful day, or it's just a very, I think it kind of, for me, it kind of many times it just kind of opens to the right page. And so if you do have your siddur, we're gonna sing Yedid Nefesh, which is just a really sweet, relaxing, peaceful. I think of it as a melody of transition from, and that's kind of probably why it's here at the very beginning of the service. A melody of transition from our work week to our day of rest. The English is, how splendid is your light, which worlds do reflect. My soul is worn from craving for your love's delight. Please, good God, do heal her and show to her your face, so my soul can see you and bathe in your grace. The melody goes like this, and please join me if you're able, or lie if you want to, or just listen and close your eyes if that works for you too. Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, meshochav eretz onecha, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, meshochav eretz onecha, V'tishtachaveh elu hadarecha. I just think you can't help but relax listening to that particular melody. This is in the cycle of Torah. This is a pretty important week. We've just yesterday had Tisha B'Av, a sort of communal day of mourning over historical tragedies in Jewish history, including the destruction of both temples. And following Tisha B'Av, this parsha, the Etchanan, is actually, kind of one of the big ones in our cycle of Torah, and it is because it contains the words for the Shema and the Be'ahavta, which form really the heart of these services in our spiritual practices as Jews. So, we could spend time just talking about that, but I'd like to focus on something a little maybe that's not talked about quite as much. This Shabbat is actually a minor chag. It's called Shabbat Nachamu, or the Shabbat of Comfort. And as I said, it comes right after Tisha B'Av. It falls the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, so it just so happens that Tisha B'Av is yesterday. It could have been any time in the last 6 days, or 7 days, I guess. And then the name of the holiday comes from this week's Haftarah, which is what I'd like to focus on this week. The Haftarah is from Isaiah, and there's a part in Isaiah where God commands the prophets, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. You know that whenever they say a word twice, it's something to pay attention to. Which when I read this, I was interested in the fact that gee, there it is. It's a doublet. Or it's a double word, it's not actually a doublet. And Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, and it means comfort my people. And I've been thinking this week about the juxtaposition of the presence of the Shema and the Ve'ahavta, the Etchanan, the juxtaposition of the two things, the Etchanan and this Haftarah. What is it? Why did the people who designed the cycle of Torah pick this particular Haftarah to go with the Etchanan? When they could have picked something about, I don't know, righteousness or obedience to God, or I don't know, something that perhaps was a little more aligned with the Torah portion. So that's what we'll talk about later on tonight. Maybe you can think about that a little bit as we sing and as we talk. So for those of you who are sitting at your tables and have your Shabbat candles, I hope you'll light lights with me. Let's see if I can move this so you can actually see the lights. There, a little bit better. So the blessings over the lights are on, if you have your Siddur, on page 5. So as you light, it's nice to close your eyes and think about the week that has just finished, and open them to when you're done with the bracha, to the light of the day of rest. And let's see if we're going to stay lit, though, with our lovely evening breeze. Well, this is problematic. Because it's a lot windier than it was 2 weeks ago. Well, pretend they're lit. and the brush like this. Baruch mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So hopefully on your Shabbat table, your candles are not in the wind, and they are lighting up your house and your life and your eyes and the eyes of your children. Always nice. Brings a little, chokes me up just a little bit. So now that we've lit the lights, if you have share, if you have something that went really nice this week, or something you're thankful for, or anything that kind of puts a light in your eyes and a light in your heart, if you want to share it in the comment bubbles, I think that would be. And we're back. Sorry about that. So sorry, I got distracted there when I lost the feed. Where we were going with this was, wait a minute now. I mess up my order of service. Hang on one sec. No, I'm good. Okay. So we're going to go to page. Sorry, we're going to go to page 318. And I would ask if you're with your children, bring them close. Maybe put your hands on their heads, and if they're not too old, let them look with joy up into your eyes as you look down at them. If they are too old, they're going to roll their eyes at you, and that's how you'll know that you're starting to get to be my age. Page 318. The blessing that Aaron gave, the Aaronic blessing, the blessing given in liminal moments and in my house given to my children on Shabbat evening, each one individually when they were little. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. And the response is Kain yehi ratzon Ya'er Adonai panav elecha bichunecha. Kain yehi ratzon Ya'er Adonai panav elecha V'Hashem lecha shalom. Kain yehi ratzon. Good Shabbos, Maddie and Ian. So, having blessed your children and found some blessing in them, let's sing Shalom Aleichem. And if you have your sidurs on pages 12 and 13. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Yihi Melech Malachei Hamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bohem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Hamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a blessing for the welcoming of angels among us, which, I don't know, seems a little fantastical if you think of angels as celestial beings with wings and halos. But I know Dan has talked about this before. I like to think of our best selves as angels, and that if you think about being an angel, and bringing joy, bringing comfort this week, bringing security, bringing protection to those who love. I think this welcoming of angels becomes more relevant in our lives, and that what we're really trying to do is encourage one another and encourage ourselves to walk as angels among us. So why don't we sing, let's see, let's do Romano. And it's, for those of you who have a Siddur, it's on page 35 at the bottom. And let's see if there's a, oh shoot, hang on. Well, I can't find the transliteration, so just sing if you know it, and lie if you don't, or just listen. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. I really like that piece. I wanted to say welcome to my cousin, Rabbi Carolyn Braun, who's joining us all the way from Portland, Maine. Carolyn is the rabbi at Temple Beth El, which is a conservative synagogue in Maine, and is a pioneer among women conservative rabbis. So, hi, Carolyn. So let's do Magad Lu, and we're going to go to page 49 in the Siddur. there it is. Yes, page 49. It's in the Hebrew on the second line from the bottom. Magadlu Masechaya Meoramku Machebo Techa Magadlu Masechaya Meoramku Machshevotecha Magadlu Maasechaya Meoramku Machshevotecha. Like Yedid Nefesh, I can't sing that one without, starting to get a little drowsy and and relax. It's just again another really, really sweet and peaceful piece of music, and something to turn to and maybe sing to yourself or hum to yourself on a really stressful day. Try it. It does work for me. Okay, so that begins or ends sort of the entry into the Shabbat service, the end of the Kabbalat Shabbat, and where are we going? We're going to page 55 for the interlude liturgy, the Chatzi Kaddish, and this is done at moments of transition in the service to kind of say, okay, we're done with that, now we're going to do this. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabba v'al magi v'rakirutei v'yam lich malchutei v'chayachonu v'yamachonu v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imiru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam le'ol me'ol maya yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipor v'yitramon v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'richu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran v'alma v'imeru amen. And we begin the Ma'ariv service, the evening service, having concluded Kabbalat Shabbat. The service begins with the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu. And so normally we would stand for this, and I'm going to stand, so I'm going to try and step back here so you can not be looking at my stomach. And if you'd like to rise, please rise. If you don't, no one's watching, so you can do whatever you want. Lie, la, lie, 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 lie. La 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 Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach 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 Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam 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 Va'ed. One, the Blessed One. Blessed is the Infinite, the Blessed One, now and forever. So we move next to the Ma'ariv, which is on page 59. Blessed are you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of all worlds, by whose words the evenings flow. In wisdom you open heaven's gates, with divine discernment you make the seasons change, causing the times to come and go, and ordering the stars on their appointed paths through heaven's dome, all according to your will. Creator of the day and the night, who rolls back light before the dark and dark before the light, who makes day pass away and brings on night, dividing between day and night. The leader of the throngs of heaven is your name. Living and enduring God, rule over us now and always. Blessed are you, Almighty One, who makes the evenings fall. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. I think for a lot of people into the modern era, the language is, I don't know, a little ancient and a little not relevant to today, and I would have felt the same way 10 or 15 years ago. But I think read as myth and as literature, we can appreciate that, thousands of years ago. It was comforting to for Jewish people to think that there was an omniscient and all-knowing God who, basically turned on the lights and turned them off again at night, and that was a thing of awe. And in today's world, where perhaps many of us don't believe in a guy with a beard or a gal with flowing gray hair up in the sky, controlling all that he or she sees below. But I think that nonetheless, this is really a celebration of the wonder of nature, and even if there's not some omniscient being up there making all this stuff happen, it's still amazing, I think, that it all does. And so, instead of thinking of this perhaps as a praise of an all-knowing and mighty being, you can think of it as a prayer of appreciation of all that we have around us, especially here in Danville, where, gosh, we live in such a beautiful place. So anyway, that's my thought about Ma'ariv. We're going to go on to the Ahavat, another prayer when read, sort of is praise to the omniscient God, but can certainly be interpreted in different ways. This is Rami Shapiro's interpretation of the Ahavat Olam, and many of you have heard this because it's in the Siddur. We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled, ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices, ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Blessed are you, beloved one, who loves your people Israel. So, what I take from that, from Rami's version of the Ahavat is that the love of God is really the love that we provide to those around us, and that it is truly a blessing to love and be loved, and in so doing, we are being Jewish. This is a very, very Jewish thing to do, is the actions around caring for someone who you love. Ahavat Ulam. So now we're going to go to the Shema, and I would remind you again that this is the week for Parsha Ve'et Chanan, and the words, or the Shema and the Ve'avta that follow it, are right in this Parsha. Pick it up if you have a Chumash at home. Pick it up and take a read. If you don't, you can Google it. It's right there, and it's all at the touch of a finger. You don't need to have the book. You can still go read the Parsha in Hebrew and English, and read many interpretations. So stand if you want to, sit if you want to, cover your eyes if you want to, or not if you don't want to. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto, Leolam Boed, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechol Vavcha, Uvechol Navshecha, Uvechol Meodecha, Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam lefanecha v'dibarta bam v'shitecha b'veitecha u'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'chumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha Ve'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. I think we many of us learn this as kids and have heard it so often that it's sort of a prayer by rote, and I think it's important to take a break every once in a while and read it in our native language. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Listen, Israel. The Eternal is our God. The Eternal is one alone. Blessed be the name and glory of God's realm forever. And you must love the one, your God, with your whole heart, with every breath, with all you have. Take these words that I command you now to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you sit inside your house or walk on the road, when you lie down and when you rise up. And bind them as a sign upon your hand, and keep them visible before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. I've heard the last line. Well, okay. I think it's that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God. It's interesting that that last line isn't there. Anyway, I think what this is saying, and what I hope that this chant that has been sung for hundreds or thousands of years, it's meant to remind us what we're supposed to do. It's meant to remind us how we're supposed to live our lives, and even if you don't really understand the Hebrew, even if you only get a few words of it, just the fact that it's over and over again throughout our lives, it's a marker, it's a reminder, it's like it's like an alarm going off to remind you about what you're supposed to do. how you're supposed to live your life. Oh, my wife's joining me. Oh, and I have a note from my wife that speak louder. Okay, well, I'm going to try to do that. And where are we going now? Oh, let's go read Hashkibain. So I guess my new headphone is not working as well as I had anticipated. Hopefully we don't have the roar of the freeway, which would be an improvement over 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to read this one in English as well tonight, just because I feel like reading. And I'm on page 80 if you have your Siddur. Help us to lie down, dear one, our God, in peace, and let us rise up again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us a shelter of your peace. Decree for us a worthy daily lot, and redeem us for the sake of your great name. Enfold us in the wings of your protection, for you are our redeeming guardian. Truly a sovereign, gracious, and compassionate God are you. Guard our going forth each day for life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, compassionate one, who spreads your canopy of peace over all your people in Jerusalem. So we're going to turn to page 85, and we're going to sing the Shamru. This is really a very I don't know, a tactical prayer, if you will. It's really specific. It's like keep the Sabbath. Is really what this is saying. It's a central spiritual practice, and it's worth singing about to remember that Shabbat is not just another day, another Tuesday or Wednesday or Sunday. It's a day where we're dedicated to our own rest and renewal. And it is an important part of the cycle of our lives. Rest is a critical thing. And this prayer tells us, it says keep in the English, but I think, Carolyn, you'd probably say that the literal of Vishamru is guard, that it's the command guard. The children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath. I think that's an interesting choice of words. So, let's sing it. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. B'nei Uven, B'nei Yisrael, oti leolam. V'shamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat bayinafash Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. And as if to lead by example and model good behavior, the last line of this, Vayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. On the seventh day, God ceased work and drew a breath of rest. On the one hand, the all-knowing and omniscient and all-powerful God of our ancestors, one wonders whether he or she really actually needed to take a rest. But I like the idea that the writers of this liturgy, whoever they were, had God modeling good behavior for us, or modeling healthy and proper behavior for us, in that he or she celebrated the Shabbat by ceasing work and drawing a breath of rest. So we're gonna do the Amidah. I am not going to chant the Amidah tonight, but I'm going to give you just a few minutes, if you're sitting with your children, to take them onto your lap, or put an arm around an uncomfortable-looking teenager, and together in silence to consider the deepest desires of your heart, and be thankful for what you have. So take a few minutes. The Amidah, if you do have your Siddur and you want to read it, it's on pages 91 through 107. But I'd encourage you just to sit and think and be, rather than doing anything by rote. And as we finish our time of silence and personal thought, we offer a blessing to the world, a blessing of peace, and we say shalom. If you have your siddur, it's on 107, last paragraph in the Hebrew, and last 5 lines in transliteration. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. So, let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to try to light these. The wind has gone down. See if they will stay lit. They look kind of sad sitting here unlit. So let's go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the service. This interesting Haftorah that I wanted to focus on, and like I said, this is Ve'et Kanan, one of the big parshot in our cycle of Torah. But I'm more interested in sort of the obscure stuff. You know, most of you know I really like music a lot, and I listen to a lot of, I'm kind of a geek in this way, but I do listen to a lot of liturgical music, so there are several versions. It's interesting, this Haftorah, the first lines of it have been put to music by a bunch of different people, including Neshama Carlebach, the daughter of Shlomo Carlebach, and her piece, until I heard about the one that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, was my favorite. It's beautiful, it's lilting, it's comforting, it's peaceful. It's like Yedid Nefesh, meant to calm not Yedid Nefesh, but this music that Nachamu was put to, meant to calm a grieving heart or a wounded or emotionally challenged person. They're musically stroking your hair, basically. It's so beautiful and so relaxing and so meditative, and a gorgeous piece of music. And I hope you'll, if you haven't listened to Neshama's Nachamu, it's on YouTube. You can find it. Just Google Neshama Carlebach and Nachamu. But I recently heard a piece done by one of the Jewish a cappella groups, the one out of Tufts University, called Sheer Appeal, and they have I'm not sure who wrote this, but this is a totally different take on this commandment of God to comfort the people, comfort Israel after all the horrible things that Tish B'Av has just happened, and now we're getting comfort because we're sad about all the horrible things that have happened. This is nothing less than an anthem. This Nachamu by Sheer Appeal. It is just a spectacular piece of uplifting, joyful liturgical music that is an interpretation that is more like, get back on your feet. Life is good. Life is worth living. this Nachamu, which I'll post. I'm going to post it on the Beth website later tonight, so maybe you'll take a listen there. Just great liturgical music. Anyhow, it basically reframes the commandments of the prophets as not to go out and soothe, but to go out and encourage and uplift and bring the downtrodden to their feet. It's really spectacular and a very wonderful interpretation of this Haftarah. As a matter of fact, I earlier this year sent this. I've been thinking about the frontline doctors and nurses a lot. My cousin Nina is a surgeon, and because there were no surgeries going on in the hospital where she worked, she was basically put in charge of a COVID ward. And I sent this to her before she started her work as it was basically that. My feeling about it was. These doctors and nurses, they're doing the work of the prophets. They're comforting the people. And this is, in addition to being a spectacular piece of music and a wonderful piece of liturgy, it's I think a modern interpretation would be that it is encouragement to those medical professionals to go out and comfort our people. But the thing I also wanted to explore was the juxtaposition of the etkanon, the words that lay out the core of Judaism, with this, again, rather tactical haftarah, where God's basically telling the prophets, go out and, they're feeling bad, go out and make them feel better. Very in the moment and not, eternal and almighty. And what is the connection between the idea that here's the Shema and the Beth, which are basically saying these words, these ideas are meant to be central to your life. They're meant to provide you with a framework for how to live your life as a Jew. And on the other hand, there's this story about God commanding some prophets to go make people feel better. And I just thought, when I first thought about this, I thought, well, that's kind of weird. You would think that in, when you're given like the big lesson, that perhaps the haftarah that went along with it might be, I don't know, a little more eternal or big. This feels intimate and small. And small, I guess, in a good way. Intimate, a better word for it. And as I thought about that, it's really kind of like the way that we think about prayer. We stop, we take a breath, and we set an intention for that prayer. And the prayer itself is the setting of an intention because prayer, communal prayer especially, is meant to be preparatory to actually living your life and actually being a Jew, living your life as a Jew, and doing the right thing. All the time. That's not possible. I know it's not possible for me, but doing the right thing. And I realized that what I think and what I take from this is that one of the really important things that we are meant to do as Jews for each other, for our neighbors, for the world, is to provide comfort. And so. I think that this is meant to make us understand that the act of comforting our loved ones, our neighbors, our fellow man is important, and it's something we're supposed to do as Jews, and it is central. That's why it's juxtaposed against this central spiritual practice. If all of what is said in the Shema and the B'Ahavta is central to the way we should think and how we should set the intention to live our lives, providing comfort and act is an important act. It's an important way of acting as a Jew. So that's my thought on this particular parsha. More emphasis on the Haftarah, a lot because I like the music that I've found around it. And my thoughts went to this also because of the pandemic and because of many of our fellow congregants and neighbors and friends are putting their lives at risk daily to care for people who've been struck down by this horrible disease. And so what I would suggest to you as a message to take away from this parsha and from this Haftarah especially is that we are all meant to provide comfort. It is part of what we are supposed to do as Jews. It is an act of holiness. And so I would encourage you to seek out opportunities to provide comfort. You may not be able to save someone's life in a COVID ward, but you can drop off a pot of soup. You can send someone a card. You can call a friend who's feeling down or who may have lost their job as a result of this. But I think it's so important in these times of stress that we have a focus on providing comfort for one another. That's what I'd like to say about that tonight. Can you hear what song may it be? So I'd like you to, as we move toward the end of the service, I'd like to spend some time thinking about those people, the people who are healing, the people who are sick, and also especially the people who care for them. And we're gonna sing Anna Elna, and I would encourage you, even if you're sitting alone at your dinner table or in your living room, to speak out the names of people who you love and are central to your lives, who are experiencing disease or pain or hardship. I really do believe that saying the word sets the intention, setting the intention makes it more likely that you're going to act on that intention. And I hope that our discussion of the Haftarah has helped you to understand that acting on that intention of comfort is a central spiritual practice of the Jewish people. So, bring to mind those of your friends and loved ones who are not well, who are ailing, who are sick but healing, and maybe who are sick but will never heal. Anna Elna Refana La Anna Elna Refana La Anna Elna Refana Anna Elna Refana La. God of compassion, source of healing, God who blessed Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, we pray to you on behalf of those who are sick, those who are injured, those who are healing, those who are not, those who lovingly care for them. And we say, Amen. So we're going to move on to the conclusion of the service. We're going to do the Aleinu, which is on page 121, if you have your siddur. And I'm going to stand up for this, and you can stand or sit however you feel comfortable. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, נטע בתוכנו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלוכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינה רוזהו בגובהי מרומים, כי אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויתדה היום והשב אותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממערת, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. So, from this week's yard sites, we have Morris Perlman, father of Bonnie Boers, William Levine, brother of Heidi Levine, and Michael Prince, father of Stephanie Abramowitz. If you have a loved one for whom you're celebrating, remembering a yard site, feel free to put a comment bubble up so that their name is mentioned, and we are going to, with that, do the Kaddish Tome. If you are in mourning and you would like to rise in honor of the loved one that you are missing, or the loved one, the anniversary whose death was this week, and you want to stand up and honor them, even again if you're alone in your living room, I encourage you to add that physical act of honor to the memory of those who are gone. And perhaps we can recite this together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachonu v'yamechonu v'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael v'agalai v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba v'merach le'olam u'omei maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran v'yalma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlam Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol yoshvei tevel v'yamru amen. I encourage you to, especially when we can't be together, to read the weekly happenings email. I didn't bring a list of announcements with me, but it comes out every Tuesday. And if you are not on the mailing list for some odd reason, I'm sure that Mary Jo Smith, our president, who I think is here tonight, would be happy to help you get on that mailing list, or of course you can email the office. So no announcements from me tonight. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. We're going to do a short Kiddush, because this is a really nice Cabernet that Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Amen. Chaim, and Shabbat Shalom to you. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and your day tomorrow, that you spend time with friends and loved ones, even if it's just virtual. Seeing someone's face can be a blessing, and it can be uplifting, and I hope you'll take some time and do that. So Zoom a friend tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom.